All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Larry James. My company is Speak with Larry, no spaces. And today we have a guy that I want to introduce you to. He goes by the name of Elgone Williams. And he's an avid reader and technology buff. He's worked as a computer technician. Windows and Mac OS was his forte. He's used several flavors of Linux. He's worked as a vendor advocate for several technology companies, promoting their products and training retail sales associates. He's also given presentations for computer users, groups, and provided telephone customer support. During college, he sold high-end stereo equipment to audiophiles, worked as a DJ in a radio station, and operated on-location camera for local TV news reporters. His first job out of college was writing editorial style advertising copy and servicing small business accounts for local agencies. And while in the US Air Force, he was a Chinese linguist and spent a couple of years in Asia. So with that, I'd like to welcome to the show Elgone Williams. Thank you, Elgone.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay.
My name's actually pronounced Elgon, but
Elgone. Okay, Elgone.
Elgon. Yeah.
That's a different name. Did you
Yeah.
grow up getting that all your life?
Yeah. I've gotten used to pronouncing it for people because most people get it wrong on the first try.
Right. That's interesting because
I had a high school English teacher that was convinced I was mispronouncing it.
So, your own name, right?
My own name.
That's something else. So you're an author now, right? You've been an author for
Yes, sir.
quite a while now, right?
Yeah.
So what is that like for you?
It's interesting. People, when you tell people that you're an author, you get a wide range of reactions. Sometimes they think you're independently wealthy because they buy into the myth that all authors are rich, and they like J.K. Rowling, and that's not the case. But a lot of people have like a stand back reaction to you, like they might be afraid that you're going to put them into your next book.
I do understand that, but I'm an author also, and when I wrote my first book, I didn't know anything about writing a book, and it took trial and error to get to where I was comfortable writing, but the structure involved and everything was really interesting process, because you get to really understand what goes into writing a book, and it's not like an easy task. It's actually
there's a lot of trial and error involved. You have to teach yourself how to write.
Right, absolutely.
It's not a skill set that you get from education. When I was in college, I studied journalism, and they teach you how to write like a journalist.
Okay.
And that's not how you write a book.
That's true.
But it does help you acquire a certain skill set, a grammatical skill set and things like that. Of course, my editors would differ with me that I use grammar properly, but
do you think that the life that you've chosen is the life that you would have dreamed of?
I always wanted to be a writer. Okay. Everything else I did kind of played into making me a writer, I think. So I started. I wanted to be a writer when I was in the 10th grade, 9th, 10th grade in high school.
Okay.
And I started writing things for the school magazine, and I was the editor. I was a co-editor of the high school newspaper my senior year, and that got me interested in journalism. Absolutely. I really couldn't find a program anywhere, at a college that taught writing. You would have courses like creative writing, and you would have courses in literature, of course, and basic composition skills. But no one had a program that would teach you how to be an author.
Uh-huh.
and to write fiction or even to write nonfiction. And so I struggled with that, but the whole time I was in college, I was working on, the Great American Novel, and um, that played out throughout college and up to the time that I was a father of three and married, and working 60 hours a week
Wow.
at a retail store, and as a manager, and I started really getting serious about writing a book when I was in my late 30s. So
Did you think
it
writing would be the way you would make your living?
um, I hoped it would be,
Mm-hmm.
but
Right.
I don't know if I've totally arrived there. I mean, it's the primary thing that I do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I also work in marketing for my publisher. My publisher it's a small publisher, but Pandamoon Publishing in out of Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
The publisher discovered that I had a background in marketing, which she also has,
Uh-huh.
and she was interested in seeing what I could do to help the other authors gain an audience and learn more about the process of marketing their books. Because the biggest thing about being an author is you have to be a salesperson of your book, and you have to be a self-promoter. You have to be good at condensing what your book's about in a couple of sentences,
Mm-hmm.
and and they need to be engaging sentences. So a lot of the skills that I learned in my business courses, I also attended University of Texas at Austin. I studied marketing there, and what I learned there was how to present pitches and how to uh, do presentations of ad campaigns, things like that.
Right.
But all that translates into promoting products and promoting your books. And even my experience in retail is all about pitching products, and so there's a lot of things that translate very well between business and being an author.
Absolutely. And that kind of all fits together, in a nice little bundle
Yeah,
because
you don't think you're gonna get there from the circuitous path that you took in life,
mhm.
but it eventually brings you where you need to be.
Right, right. And then you're able to, I always tell people that when you I'm a person who likes to make what I don't know what I know. So what I don't know, I don't see the actual doors that are involved. But as I start to gain knowledge about what I'm learning, I see doors begin to open that has always been there, but I couldn't identify them because my knowledge level wasn't high enough, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And part of the process of composing a novel is seeing things that are in the future for your characters well in advance of how they see things.
Right, right.
And if you apply that structure to your own life and analyze, the trials, tribulations, and pitfalls that you've overcome,
Mm-hmm.
in your own past, you can kind of see where your life's heading. Not, unfortunately, that happens much later on in your life than you probably wish it would,
Absolutely.
um, but you do eventually get there. You get to the point where you can see your own destiny 4 or 5 years out.
Mm-hmm. And
And
I like to talk about when you talk about life, I like to talk about what I consider the 4 quarters of life, right? Like, the first quarter, like from a sports analogy, the first quarter is like 0 to 20. The second quarter is, 21 to 40, and then on and on. By the time you get in the third quarter of life, it's like you already acknowledge that your life is short. You know what I'm saying? So you really have to be where you want to
yeah,
be.
you need to start playing. You need to start playing for keeps.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you're wiser. You're wiser, so
Yes.
you actually make better choices because there's 2 ways you learn by experience what you're experiencing yourself or watching someone else go through it. Because
Right.
I'm the type I prefer to see you go through the struggle and I know what not to do. You know, but
I
sometimes,
think I think that's true of most authors.
yeah,
Most authors are really good at observing other people,
right.
and they're probably not all the best at giving advice to others,
I agree with
um,
that too. I agree with that.
but they're very good about analyzing what's wrong with a situation,
Hmm.
and
So from a business perspective,
maybe in that respect you could give advice to other people whether they listen to you or not's another matter.
are you able to tie in the actual opportunities that come with writing a book to your satisfaction? Because like you were talking about the marketing, I know when I wrote my book, my first book, I knew nothing about marketing, zero, and I was thinking just like you thought. Well, I've got the book written now. I should be rich. You know, that's not how
Yeah,
it
it's a yeah. People don't buy your book because they don't know. I
right,
mean, you're already famous in your own mind, but nobody else knows that.
right, right,
Yeah,
right.
so
So you got to get that out. You know, you got to. And
you have to get it out. You have to stimulate people to produce a lot of positive word of mouth. To sell your book because that sells your book better than taking a full page ad out in a newspaper. For
absolutely.
I mean, if you're an unknown author, it's a battle because people don't want to invest money and their time in reading something from somebody that they have no knowledge of. So
Absolutely.
you have to approach established authors. You have to get them to blurb your book. Give you a cover blurb,
Hmm.
write a review for you, a positive review, and you have to go out and promote those things.
Uh-huh.
And most people are operating on a shoestring budget, so they're having to use social media. I mean,
Hmm.
social media didn't really exist as it is now when I published my first book. So I've seen social media evolve,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, I think maybe MySpace was out there when I,
Wow. That was,
if you remember MySpace,
yeah, I do. That was a while back.
when I first published a book, I think that was out there, but I didn't know about it.
Hmm.
And I mean, my book was put up on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com,
Oh, really?
and yeah, and
Back
uh,
then?
yeah, back then.
Okay.
Amazon actually existed. It was a lot smaller footprint, and they were more focused on the book industry,
Hmm.
the publishing industry, than they are now even. But yeah,
But
uh,
I think the internet is a great tool to after you publish the
oh,
book.
it is,
Yeah,
it is.
wonderful.
You can there's a lot of book club groups on Facebook,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and they're looking for content. They're looking for things for their members. Some of the groups have hundreds to thousands of members.
Hmm.
You can get interviewed by some of the sites.
Right. Right.
You can do author takeovers where you take over for a few hours and present your book and answer questions from their members.
Right.
And I mean, a lot of the people ask really good questions. You become friends with them, and some you do a few giveaways. You give away a few books, and um, you try to entice those people that you gave away books to post a review.
Right. And one of
So
the things
that
I like about it is that people are people. People will like you. You know, there are people that
yeah,
won't like you, but there are people that will like you, and they will like the effort that you're doing. You know, so
I think most people are predisposed.
uh-oh, you froze up. Oh, there you go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You okay?
Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay. I think most people are predisposed to like other people.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong
Right. Right. Absolutely.
and, and everything. And I've had very positive responses from everybody. I mean, people who like books, love books, read books a
Uh-huh.
lot, they're the best people in the world.
Right. I agree because you have something in common. You know,
Yeah.
that's what it is
So
with most areas of expertise that you select whichever path you decide to go down. what I like about the computer is that it's not limited by age. You know, you could like people. I don't know about you, but I'm 62. So at 62, things.
Yeah, I'm 64, so I got a couple of years on you.
Yeah, but we're in the same neighborhood. But
Yeah.
you know, the things that we're able to do at this age is incredible to me versus like what my parents
Oh
could.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can do it from
Absolutely.
home. You can do it from home. That's amazing to me.
I
Technology.
mean, when I was in college, computers had to be fed with the cards, the card readers,
Right. Right.
and toward my senior year, I think I actually got to use a what we would call a dumb terminal now, but you'd
Uh-huh.
actually sit down at a terminal and type in
Oh,
the
really?
program that way. That was new. That was like state of the art.
Yeah, we've come a long ways.
And we've come a long way.
One of the things I like about it is it's not finished. It's going to get even
Yep.
more sophisticated and more.
Oh yeah.
And
Cars are driving themselves, and
right. That's right. That's why you got
yeah,
to
you're
become
gonna
part of it. Because if you're not, you're going to be left behind.
yeah.
Literally. Yeah, you're going to be literally in the dark. Because when as long as the smart people keep being born, because you think about like our grandkids, they're kind of like growing up with this technology.
Oh
So
yeah.
you incorporate their thought processes and their abilities, and man, it's just no telling what the next 20 or 40 years gonna look like.
You see, I was a computer technician on the side when my kids were fairly young. They
Hmm.
grew up with computers. I built them computers,
Okay.
and we had like a home network going.
Uh-huh.
So
There wasn't
uh,
a lot of guys like that though,
no,
because I didn't grow
no,
up
not
across
no,
past.
not back then.
No, no, no.
That was in the '90s.
Yeah,
Most people didn't even have a computer,
absolutely,
you know.
absolutely not. I
And
didn't.
my kids have got their own personal computers, and we've got a network in the house.
Hmm.
And my kids would do crazy things like, send me a message, hey, mom's mad, be on the lookout.
Wow. I know my son. I've got a son too, and when my son was in the Air Force as well, and I think it was like probably 12 years ago, something like that, in that area. But um, I was calling him. He was in Japan, and he was in air traffic control and radar communication. And they would send him from Japan to the United States back and forth for classes, right? And then I called him one day in Japan. He said, "Dad, you can email me." And I said, "What's email?" Because phone calls are
Exactly.
expensive. But once he showed me email, I said, and I kind of got a feel for it. I said, I need to become part of this because I think this is, the wave that's coming. And from that point on, I started, spending a lot of time on the computer and learning different things. And now I've got a podcast show. I got videos. I got over 900 videos on YouTube. I got a lot of things going online, so it's just amazing how you can just, if you were like 22 or 29 and you started doing this type of thing, by the time you're 40, you're well on your way. You're well like where you're
Yeah.
positioned. But
One of the other authors from Pandamoon, her name's Christine Gabriel.
mhm.
She's she helps me with the marketing tasks that we do. She's like the marketing communications manager,
Mhm.
and we team up together and help people come up with promotional campaigns and things like that for their
Right.
books. And she's she's in her 30s, and she's grown up around computers and everything.
Mhm.
So she's a lot more like my kids were. My kids had no fear of computers.
Uh-huh.
It was something that had been part of their life their whole time. And she is a little more savvy about doing certain things, but we'll come up with uh, bizarre off the wall ideas of what we could do for promotion, and then we have to look to see if it's even possible,
Mhm.
with the technology.
Right.
But we came up with some things a few years ago, and the technology just didn't exist back then.
Mhm.
Like doing what we're doing now. We do what we call the Pandaverse panel interviews, where we interview authors online, like you're doing here, and we record it, and then we post it to YouTube.
Right.
We didn't have all that infrastructure several years ago, but now we do.
I know, and it's easy to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not hard.
No, it's not hard. That's why if you're in the game, you want to add that skill level to your curriculum as you're growing. You know, because there are a lot of things that that kind of complement one another, but they keep you out of the game because you don't understand that. You know,
Exactly.
unless you have like a partner or somebody who's versed in that, then you're going to be missing out on parts. That's one of the things I love about Zoom, because I get to talk to people all over the world, you know, and these people are smart people, you know what I'm saying? And connections mean a lot in life, you know, because one simple question can be the answer to where you're trying to go. And I may not have the answer, but somebody that I know may very well have that answer, you know, because I believe everybody you meet knows something you don't know, right?
Right. Everybody has a different way of solving problems. That's one of the things I learned when I was in the Air Force, when I was in Asia, that we all have similar problems as humans,
right?
And we all come up with solutions to those problems, and they may not be the same solution.
Probably won't be.
And and just because it's different doesn't mean it's right or wrong.
Absolutely, and I'm so on board with that. I'm so on board with that. That's why I believe that a good leader doesn't tell you how to get something done. He just tell you what needs to get done, you know, and you use your own creativity to get it done. And if you can identify that as a skill set, that you can become a problem solver, you can solve a lot of problems, and that's how people get wealthy, is solving problems. You know, but a lot of people aren't money motivated. You know, a lot of people are just like to be part of something.
Well, I think people have to have an entrepreneurial spirit to a certain extent to arrive at what you're talking about there. Like, for example, I used to work for Home Depot, years ago when they had like 63 stores.
Wow, that was a while ago.
That was a while ago.
Yes,
but I knew the founders on a personal basis because they were always coming in and walking the stores because there weren't that many stores. Right. So I knew Bernie Marcus, Arthur Blank, Ron Brill, Pat Farah, the people who started Home Depot. And the reason Home Depot succeeded early on was because they gave the people the reins to make their own decisions. Well, as a store manager was the greatest job in the company. Because they were only answerable to the corporate office to come up with the right solution and to make their sales plans and make their budgets.
Right.
And everything else below the store manager was divvied out to the assistant managers and the department heads. So it was kind of like running your own business with somebody else's money, which is a great thing. Absolutely. It was a great thing.
Absolutely. But I believe we all entrepreneurs on some level. I believe that we're supposed to be entrepreneurs, although I hear people say that their argument is, well, everybody's not supposed to be an entrepreneur. But I believe that if we're basing it on survival, you have to become a hunter yourself. You can't really rely on me to hunt for you. You have to be in the hunt for yourself. And if it's just like, I believe if you can,
there's not a lot of givens in the world.
That's right. That's right.
You have to.
It's a lot to take.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, farmers have to be good at doing a little bit of everything.
That's a different lifestyle too.
They're mechanics, they're veterinarians,
right,
horticulturalists.
Absolutely. Wow.
I mean, it's all got to be there, and they're not necessarily professional at anything, but they're proficient at it. And I've seen my dad, have some mechanical part break, out in the field, and he would bring it back and weld it together and do some repair work to it and go back out there just so he could finish what he was doing that day.
Wow. Didn't have to
I mean,
call anybody to come repair nothing, and just
you
took it.
couldn't. You
Wow.
couldn't. I mean, you were losing valuable time. So,
Right. And
I
money.
mean, there was a blacksmith shop in town, but that's going to take a couple of days to
Mm-hmm.
to go into town and take them the bad part and have them fabricate something for you. It's going to take a week to get a part in from the manufacturer for
Oh my
whatever was
God.
wrong.
Yeah.
So you gotta come up with your own solutions. So
Gotta be resourceful. That's right.
yeah,
And we learn to be that. That's why I believe that we all adjust to that, regardless of whether you're in a bad situation or a good situation. We're resourceful. So by being resourceful, when you're forced to do something to generate an income, it's not that difficult when the only way you have is up. You know what I'm saying? You really can't stay where
yeah,
you are because I believe if you can turn a nickel into a dime, then you can turn $1 into $5.
yeah.
You just have
Yeah,
to.
it's like that old Doors song. The line in it is, "I've been down so long that it looks like up to me."
That's right. And I can understand that. I can identify with that. Although I believe that, the way life is, I believe life is short. And since it is short, I believe we all have to take control of our own destiny. I believe we can't leave
Yep.
that up to anybody else and I also believe the days of 25 or 30 years on the job are pretty much gone, you know,
Yeah.
because of technology. So if the sooner you can start your little, what I call a little side hustle, where you just, and I'm like, what my company does is teach you to set up the foundation of your online business while helping you become more comfortable speaking about it.
Right.
Because speaking is an avenue of revenue as well, right?
Yeah.
So that being an author,
Well, if you approach the business setting as you're always a salesperson, you're always selling something.
right,
Even if you don't have a physical product to sell, you're selling yourself to somebody else as a
true.
as a as a resource, or as a reservoir of knowledge or whatever.
Expert.
Yeah, you're always selling something. So if you develop good people skills early on,
Hmm.
and you develop a technique for pitching things, you'll succeed in anything that you do.
That's right. I believe that without a doubt. I believe that without, and that's a good thing because I believe those are skills, and skills can be taught, right? You
Yeah,
you you only disqualify yourself when you don't seek to work
yeah.
on those
But
skills.
some people are psychologically predisposed to be more outgoing,
Hmm.
and if you're not one of those people, you need to get past that. You
Absolutely.
need to
You're
you need to
extrovert.
realize that we're all in the same situation. We're all trying to get
Right.
you know get a better life for our families, and you know do whatever we can to make life easier for the people that we love.
That's right. And I believe too that people want to hear your story because we all have a story. You
Yeah,
know,
we all have a story to tell.
I
Yeah,
love stories. I love to hear people's stories because, you know, it takes me to another place because you were saying that you were raised on a farm. I can't imagine that lifestyle, because that's always seemed so
well,
hard to me.
I couldn't wait to get off the farm and get into the cities and learning things like that. And
Hmm.
after spending most of my life living in suburban or urban settings,
Right.
um, I look back at it and I'm like, living on the farm wasn't that bad. You know, I
You have
mean,
control
I
of
I
what's
didn't have,
going
I
on.
didn't have to worry I didn't have to worry about food because we raised our own food.
Hmm.
You know,
That's right. That's
I
right.
mean,
That's major.
that's not a bad life.
That's major right there because a lot of people like me, I have to go to the grocery store,
Yeah,
or I would have to learn how to do what you know how to do. Well, like I say, it's a skill, so it would just take time, which is, like in the third or fourth quarter, you don't have a lot of that left, right?
yeah,
So you need to have
yeah.
acquire that skill or enough money so that you
Yeah,
can,
you have to make all your major adjustments by halftime.
yeah,
Otherwise,
exactly. Or you might be in a little trouble. And I
might be in
always
a
think,
little trouble.
and
Yeah,
you know what? Uh, I don't see people really caring as much about older people nowadays. Like when I was really young and stuff like that, old people were really respected. Old people that were older. And I don't see that now. I see disrespect in older people.
Yeah. And they don't have time for it. They think, well, you don't know anything anymore. You don't know
Right, right.
what's going on. I
Hmm.
mean, I run into people all the time that are kind of surprised that I know what I know about computers.
Oh, really?
But yeah, and I'm like, well, computers have been around for a long time. I mean, I was in my 20s when they first came out with the PC and Apple, the first Apples and everything. I was in my 20s back then, so I wasn't that old.
Right, but a lot of people just weren't into that. A lot of
Yeah,
people.
a lot of people are looking at it and going, these personal computers, that's a fad. I mean,
Right.
IBM rules the world with the mainframes, and that's where the business is. They
Absolutely.
didn't realize, you know.
But
So
look at it now. Look at it now. Technology.
I
I'm
mean,
telling
if they did, they would have bought stock in Microsoft and Apple,
you. Oh,
and they wouldn't be working today.
they wouldn't be working at all. That's. But having that vision, that foresight, in hindsight, I know some people who were close to companies that really blew up, like Dell
Yeah,
Computers, and they didn't invest in that stock when it was like penny,
yeah,
and then they look at it now and they hate that because these
yeah.
companies.
If I'd hung on to all the stock that I had in Home Depot, I wouldn't be working today.
Right, right.
I wouldn't be doing. Yeah, and some respects, I think my life's better the way that it turned out. But
Mhm.
you think about things like that.
Absolutely. Especially when you were there, you were at the door, so you were inside the door. But that's called life, right?
Yeah, there was a guy. There was a guy that I worked with in the first store I worked at. Um, his name was Ed Harnois, and he knew everything there was to know about plumbing. And he'd been with Home Depot since like the first couple of stores,
Okay.
and
Wow.
he didn't have to work.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he was already wealthy from the stock that he
You
had,
stop. Uh-huh.
and he came to work every day because he liked what he did.
He,
He loved his job, and he would tell you, I'm gonna, I come to work every day to help out the people that I know.
hmm.
And he had customers that came in and looked for him, and he wasn't always the most pleasant person to talk to for the customers,
Got you. Got
because the customers would come in and tell him what they did. And he is, why did you do that? That's stupid.
you.
He'd say that directly to the customer, but the
Uh-huh.
customers respected him because he knew what he was talking about.
Right. He was a problem
You
solver.
know, they came to him to get the advice. But
Absolutely.
yeah, his customer service skills were rough, at best.
Right.
But
Right.
he was successful. He
Interesting.
was successful because he knew how to relate to people.
Right. Right.
So
And you can be. You just have to kind of be in the back of the room. You don't want to be the first person people see when you come to the location, especially with an attitude like that. But listen, it's come up on that bewitching hour, and we're gonna have to break.
all right,
But I really enjoyed this conversation with you. I had a great time. And before I leave, I'd like for
I
you
had
to
a great time too.
leave your email address or your website or whatever way you have people to contact you.
Well, my website is www.elgonwilliams.com, and my email address, you can reach me at Elgon Williams at Pandamoon Publishing, all one word, .com.
Mm-hmm. All right, great, great.
And, if you want to know anything about writing, anything about becoming an author, or anything about the publishing process, I have a lot of experience in those areas. I'd be glad to share it with you.
Fantastic. Okay, well, I always like to end the show by saying, my name is Larry James. My company is Speak with Larry, no spaces. And as always, share with someone else what I've shared with you. Thanks a lot, Elgon.
Well, thank you. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.